So yesterday we received the first devlog from Ghost Story Games about their upcoming game Judas. I for one am very excited about this because the game has been announced quite a while ago and not that many updates since then about what the game is or when it's coming out or anything like that. But they kind of acknowledge that in this first devlog, which is nice to see. And I want to kind of go through the details because Bioshock 1 is my absolute favourite game of all time. Infinite I really, really like, even though I think it's definitely aged not well in certain circles, but I still think it's a great game. And Bioshock 2 is really good fun. You know, I still enjoy it. Obviously not the same level of quality as the first game, but the first game is just so perfect in so many ways, especially in terms of its story, that I just, no matter what sequel came, I wasn't going to stand up to it. But to be getting new news about Judas, I think is really exciting because I think it looks very, very Bioshock and very, very Ken Levine. I've even had the pleasure of meeting Ken Levine actually quite a few years ago at Resd in London, and he was really, really nice. But I thought I'd just go through these details because I think they sound really interesting and provide a sort of unique insight into this game that we haven't really had yet. So in the devlog, he kind of acknowledges that it's been a while since they've done anything with marketing, including trailers or anything like that. But they're going to be working on more trailers and stuff down the road. The main thing here that is interesting to me is this villainy feature. So essentially, I'm not going to read it word for word, but essentially they're trying to implement a similar system to Shadow of Mordor, the Nemesis system, in which you kind of have dynamic relationships between certain characters, like how in Shadow of Mordor that there are dynamic relationships with different orcs, depending on who you killed or who killed you, and etc. etc. I'm sure everybody knows about that system by now. It's not really ever been explored in games since then. But this definitely takes inspiration from that. They even explicitly mention it in the blog as well. But I'll just quickly read kind of the vague idea how they've written it anyway to explain what it is. So they established that in the previous games they're always like Fontaine, Comstock, they're always going to be villains. Like, there's no real changing that. But in Judas, this can change, and depending on which one of their so-called big three that you choose to build more of a relationship with, the others are going to become either more antagonistic towards you or more friendly towards you, depending on that. So it says here, in Judas, your actions will attract members of the big three to you as friends, but ignore one of them long enough and they will become the villain. From there, they will get access to a new suite of powers to subvert your actions and goals. This is just one example of how the big three can retaliate, but the more dangerous and character-specific stuff are going to be kept a secret for now. And you have to kind of make your own decisions about who you're focusing your energy on and who you want to side with, who you don't mind alienating so much. But it seems as well, when you scroll down a bit more, that they definitely have a focus on character. And they mention how even though in previous games like Bioshock Infinite, you can build a relationship with Elizabeth and you know a lot about her, she doesn't know that much about us. Not so much about Booker. She learns a bit about him, but us as gamers in terms of obviously the choices we make and things like that. So it seems like they're really leaning heavily into that side of game development and game design, which I think is really interesting. Not just because of the dynamic nature and sort of leaning into your choices having consequence, which I always really, really appreciate in games, but the fact that being able to do that means that the game sounds just way more replayable than it might have been if it was just a single linear game in which one person is kind of the villain and you're acting against them. So that I think is really interesting. They also mentioned how they've completed the biggest playtest yet of Judas, which is of course a huge milestone in a game anyway, because when it's a big playtest, then that creates the assumption that it's pretty far along in development, and that even though it's still a little whiles off, we don't have to wait like too long in terms of maybe another 2 or 3 years, hopefully not anyway. But yeah, this idea of the big three I think is really interesting, and the more that we learn about who the big three are, I think the more interesting that's going to become. And they've shown some key art as well, which is very kind of Star Wars influenced, which they mention as well. But that's very clear from the poster, these kind of multiple characters in various poses with sort of strong lighting behind them in the background with various bits of space junk and blah, blah, blah. And of course, they also talk about people's expectations of wanting to know when it's going to come out, which they don't clarify on too much. They just kind of say that they don't want to announce a date yet and then have to change it, which I appreciate, because I hate when a game, especially when a big game like this comes along and they announce a date and then get pushed back. So obviously with something like GTA is a famous one in the past in various titles to have an announcement and then push it back. And I think, if I remember rightly, I think Bioshock Infinite might have been pushed back, but I'm not 100% sure on that at this moment. And then they just kind of sign off Ken and the Ghost Story team. And so it's not a huge amount of information. It's not delving too much into the game or revealing too much to us, but to at least give us this tidbit about the villainy system and how that dynamic gameplay system is going to influence the story and the characters, I think is really interesting. And I really look forward to playing it when it comes out. As I say, Bioshock 1 is my absolute favourite game of all time, so I'm really hoping it will live up to that Ken Levine level of quality that we come to expect by now. So for now, that's all I've really got to discuss about it. I just wanted to kind of express my excitement for this because it has been such a long time since Bioshock Infinite and since they've done anything else. So yeah, looking forward to it. Let me know what you think of the game, whether you're excited or if you just couldn't care less about Bioshock and Judas in general, and what you're hoping to learn from future devlogs, because I'm hoping they're going to produce these relatively frequently. Yeah, otherwise, leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that usual business from YouTube stuff. Yeah, speak to you soon about something else, hopefully. Bye.